and welcome to another episode of our Think Different Prep series. This episode, we're going to be diving into discipline over emotion, how to build the athlete's mindset. There is a moment in every prep where truth tends to show up. You're going to wake up tired. You're going to wake up hungry. Your emotions are loud. Your body wants comfort. Your mind wants to stop. And in that moment, most athletes negotiate. The real athletes, they keep going. Because the elite do not move from emotion and emotional reactivity. They act in accordance with identity and structure through systemization. In this episode, in the culmination of everything we've built so far, we've spoken about systems, environment, financial preparation, identity, and emotional control. Now we talk about the state of mind that separates performers from pretenders, athletes from hobbyists, and finishers from quitters. This is the psychological edge that makes preps predictable. Discipline over emotion, not motivation, emotion. Not the idea, but the practice. So in this episode, we break down why real athletes rely on systems, training with intention and awareness, how to self-regulate under pressure, performance identity versus outcome obsession, why repeatable execution builds the athlete, not the hype, and a closing principle to understand the best athletes don't chase hype. They perfect the repeatable actions. Real athletes don't rely on feelings. Feelings fluctuate. Feelings vary. Feelings contradict themselves, especially in the exacerbated depths of a bodybuilding prep. Feelings pull you away from the outcome you said you wanted and push you towards comfort. Discipline isn't the absence of emotion. Discipline is the refusal to let emotion lead and do what it is you said you wanted to do. This is why systems matter. Systems remove negotiation. Systems protect you from emotional inconsistency. Systems express internally anchored identity. The athlete who shows up only when they feel like it will never beat the athlete who shows up because it's who they are. Training with intent, not autopilot. It is one thing to say that we have to train on autopilot. We know we're going to go to the gym. We know that we are going to train. That is an autopilot behavior. We are simply going to the gym. It is not up for debate. But anyone, when they get to the gym, can lift weights. Very few actually train. Training in prep requires awareness, ownership, intentional effort, internal cues, technical focus, and emotional regulation under fatigue. Autopilot training reflects an unanchored external identity. You're doing it because you know you have to. You're doing it because others are going to see you. You do it because it's what the show requires. Intentional training, though, reflects internal ownership and identity. Ask yourself, am I training or just moving? Am I mentally present or mentally absent? Am I pushing to my standard or reacting to how I feel? Elite athletes train from principles and standards. Average athletes train from impulse. Self-regulation under pressure. As we've talked about many times before now, prep exposes your ability to manage yourself. This includes your thoughts, your emotions, your expectations, your reactions, and your actions. Fatigue does not excuse poor behavior. Hunger does not excuse emotional eating. Stress does not excuse inconsistency. Elite athletes regulate themselves before the world has to, so that no one else has to. 3 self-regulation skills that you need to be aware of. First one, ironically, awareness. Noticing the feeling that you are experiencing. Interpretation. Understanding the cause. Being able to understand or interpret the feeling that you are experiencing so that you can best describe it and frame it in a way that is positive. The behavior. Choosing the aligned action to proceed from the interpretation. This is emotional maturity under performance psychology. It is what prep demands and is what prep requires. Performance identity versus outcome obsession. Most athletes fail because they're obsessed with the result. They're obsessed with being seen on stage. They're obsessed with the photo shoot. They're obsessed with the show day itself. Nothing more, nothing less. There's nothing wrong with outcome focus. However, it cannot be the anchored position of your entire prep, or it simply will not last. It is not obsessed with the identity that creates the results, though. Outcome obsessed athletes chase validation, panic when progress slows, overreact to scale fluctuations, compare themselves constantly to others. It is an ego action, not a mastery or self-development action. Performance-aligned athletes, process-driven athletes, focus on execution, ground themselves in standards and principles, stay stable when progress slows, compete with who they were. They compete with the intention to be the best version of themselves they can possibly bring, and understand that that may not always be enough. That leads to the follow-up action, which is the intention to improve so they can progress the placing, the finish, or the conclusion next time they compete. The ones who win don't think like competitors chasing outcomes. The ones who win think like athletes committed to their identity because that is who they are. What is important is understanding that repeatable execution is the real superpower. Greatness isn't built from single burst intensity and inspiration. It is built from high-level repetition. Showing up once with high emotion doesn't make you elite. Having one A game, having one great performance does not mean you're going to execute at a high standard repeatedly. Showing up consistently with zero emotion does. Not emotions in your day-to-day life. You're never going to have zero emotional experiences. Showing up consistently without emotion dictating your action is what is elite. The elite don't hype themselves up daily. They automate excellence at a high standard. They win because their standards don't fluctuate. Their effort doesn't depend on mood. Their routine is predictable. Their behavior is identity aligned. Their execution is repeatable under fatigue and exhaustion. Where it is truly stress tested and pressure tested, that is where you see their standards. That is the difference between a hobbyist and an athlete. I have coached athletes that were absolute monsters when they felt good, but struggled and needed reinforcement when they felt average. We've worked on those things, we've built those things, developed those things to improve. But at first, that's what you start to see. I've also coached athletes whose best sessions happen on their worst days, when their B game was so good that it trumped other people's A game. The difference is the first group moved from emotions and feelings, the second group moved from identity. I guarantee you see this across multiple different camps of coaching. My clients were not exceptions. They were not wrong or right. Just simply how things had started and what required work. One is a roller coaster, experiential roller coaster. The other can become a weapon. So what are the practical takeaways from this conversation? Ask yourself, do I train with intent or from habit? Do I let emotion dictate behavior? Do I have systems that protect me from my bad days? Does my identity match the athlete I say I want to be? Do I execute consistently or inconsistently? Not be perfect. This is not about perfection. It is about predictability and the probability of outcome through consistent execution of systems. What is important to walk away with is understanding that prep is not a test of hype. It's a test of who you chose to be when no one was watching. Discipline over emotion isn't a slogan. It is a lifestyle and a philosophy of approach. It is a skill. Emotional regulation and control is a skill, a practiced, learnt skill. It is an identity, and it is the final psychological pillar that holds a prep together. The best athletes don't chase hype and feelings. They perfect the repeatable at a very high level. Execute that, and the probability of your prep being successful goes through the roof.